No matter how much you love your dogs can't do what you do. Your child that is 2 years old, 3 years old, is wiser than your 8 years old dog. That's why you can see a child of 3 years old pulling a horse that is 5 times her size, and the horse will follow. Why? Because there is something about the DNA of the child that makes that child to be naturally ahead of the horse. You can school a horse in the best university in Australia, but a child who does not have formal education at the age of 5 will be wiser than that horse. In fact, if you see a horse respond to signs, that's a very intelligent horse. Meanwhile, that's what a child knows at 6 months. So what an intelligent horse achieves at the zenith of its life is what a baby learns before it starts talking, because of DNA. So DNA naturally makes the human ahead of the animals. And so when God wants us, or wanted us to function in his class, he didn't begin by training us. Training without DNA will be error. So what God did was, first of all, to put his life in us. When he put his life in us, then we can learn to function like God. If he didn't put his life in us, it would have been impossible to learn to be like God. That's why I told you yesterday, this invitation was public, but no donkey came here. This invitation was public, no dog came here. Because they couldn't read it. They couldn't understand what it meant. Their DNA wouldn't allow them. And so God wants you and I to represent him. So the first thing he did was to give us his life. But I told us it would be impossible for God to transfer his life from his realm into our realm. So God needed to activate a very strong protocol from his own realm to transmit his life into this realm. And so what God did was that God became man, so that men can have the life of God. This is why Jesus came. In John 3:16, he said, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life." So the reason God became man is so that the life of God can be available to men. You know, many people argue these things, and they are wondering, if God became man, who was controlling heaven? And they are arguing, if God became man and God died, who was controlling the earth when God died? And they were arguing, if God does not have a wife, how is it possible